is 6:05 on Wednesday, February 24, 2016, and on that note, I'll call the meeting order. We'll start with roll call. President Hirano.
Present.
Executive Vice President Vamores is here. Vice President of Campus Internal Affairs, here. Vice President of External Affairs, here. Vice President of Finance, unexcused. Marketing and Promotions Director, Personnel Director,
Present.
Outreach Director, unexcused. Running late? Thank you. Unexcused late, hopefully. Elections Director,
Here.
Non-Traditional Student Director,
Present.
President Pro Tempore Willis,
Here.
Senator Alan Alcantara,
Here.
Senator Casey Field, Senator Dawson Boson is excused late, hopefully. Absent. Senator Des Jackson,
Present.
Senator Giselle Zuna,
Present.
Senator Joshua Lopez.
Here.
Senator Christina David,
Present.
Senator Nick Creo is excused absent. Senator Verna Chan,
Here.
Senator Katat,
Present.
Senator Melissa Vargas,
Present.
Senator Nevin Pereira,
Present.
Senator Win-Yu Chow,
Present.
Senator Aaron Sunga is excused late. Senator Ryan Toronto,
Present.
Blue.
She's asleep right now.
That was excused.
Not
On that note, we have quorum. Moving on to approval of the agenda. The agenda is on the board as sent out to all the everyone on the mailing list. Are there any motions to approve the agenda or amend the agenda as presented?
I move to approve the agenda.
There's a motion to approve the agenda. Is there a second? There's a second by Senator Jackson. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstain? Yes, there's all options, Senator. Yes.
Oh, yeah, I will.
On that note, the agenda is approved. Moving on to the Senate meeting minutes of meeting number 15. As per our custom, we'll pass it around, read it, and sign them back. Moving on to our ex officio list. Any members of ex officio which wish to report to this board at this time?
Good evening, Senate. I just wanted to give you a quick update on how things are going. Today, ASUCR came in and presented some things to the Judicial Council. The Judicial Council still needs more time to deliberate for these things, and we've tabled whether to accept or deny the appeal until a further date, possibly next week. And I also wanted to open up the floor to questions.
We'll start a queue then. Anyone who wishes to speak, please. All right, we'll start with Senator Willis and Senator Theobald, and we'll close the queue for now. Senator Willis.
I guess I was wondering if you had any time frame that you would expect for the appeal, or if it's going to be just indefinite for the hearing.
We're going to examine it, in our off time, and we're going to read it. We have he gave us a document. We're going to read it, and hopefully we'll go next week. I just can't guarantee that, like I said, at a later date. But it is on the agenda for next week.
Okay, and then just follow to that. I'm sure you already had documents. Would it be possible to submit, I forget how to pronounce it, ASUCR just on behalf of that with additional information, or would that not be accepted in the bill?
Can you repeat the question, sir?
Basically, could I just submit also just further evidence? I'm sure he cleared most of it, but if I were to submit documents, would it be accepted, or?
I will have to get back to you on that.
Okay, thank you.
During the appeal process, is ASUCR still able to function as the Vice President of External Affairs?
No.
Anyone else wish to address the board at this time?
Actually, I have questions. What's the appeal process? There's nothing in the document, is it? Rules of procedure. In that. So could you clarify how it would go?
I can't. No. I'll have to check in with the Judicial Council about that. But the fact that he did submit an appeal, there's an email that is request for an official appeal of the case, and that he presented evidence is enough to open an appeal.
Okay,
as we
so
decided.
so like next time, I just to avoid confusion, should that be written next time, just so that?
Written as in how?
As in, like, can there be a written, in the rules of procedure, can there be something just written to say how the appeals process should go, just to avoid confusion next time?
The Judicial Council's looking at a broad review of the rules of procedure at this time, but I can't speak to what's going to be in that review or anything like that.
Oh, no, I was just suggesting that there should be more.
Yeah, we are in the process right now.
Okay. To be clear, so we're not sure what the rules of procedure say about the appeals process.
I didn't say that, no.
Okay, so there is appeals process,
There is an appeals
which
process.
we're going to,
Sorry, what?
which we, yeah. I believe Oscar submitted.
Yeah, there's 30 seconds remaining.
Okay.
A motion to extend time limit.
There's a motion set time by
5 minutes.
5 minutes or a second.
Second.
Second by Senator Chow. Any objections?
Yeah, I don't think we need.
There's objection, we'll move to a quick vote. This is a discussion item. All in favor of extending time by 5 minutes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Any opposed? Any abstain? And the motion passes. It's vote to
9-1. No, 9-2-1.
8-2.
8-2-1.
8-2-1.
8-2-1. Time extended by 5 minutes. Senator Jackson, you have the floor.
Okay, so since Oscar is technically not the acting we call it VP of External Affairs, does that mean that Dr. Kelly is taking those responsibilities while the appeal process is going on, or is that position basically vacant right now?
It's going to be, you guys need to follow the, what we gave in the majority opinion, which says that the alternate should take place, yes.
Any questions for the ex officio member? Seeing none, we move forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any ex officio to suggest this forward at this time?
Hi, my name is Jessica Baker. I'm the opinions editor of the Highlander newspaper, and I came to this meeting to just kind of open up the option in regards to the recent editorial did opinions run for issue 19 of the Highlander, which was on the recent changes of the ASUCR election bylaws. I just wanted to open up the option that we are very welcome and very open to letters to the editor from anyone on campus, especially in regards to anything that the opinion section publishes, the Highlander General publishes, because specifically the opinions section is not only just for the editorial staff to be heard, or contributing writers to be heard, but also anyone on campus through letters to the editor and op-eds. I just wanted to open up that option because of the latest editorial, and I'm quite sure it might be very controversial due to it, but I just wanted to open that option. Like, I do not want to limit any voices that could be heard in an editorial in regards to that.
Thank you. Any questions for the ex officio from the Highlander? Okay, Vice President.
What are the deadlines to submit those?
The deadlines to submit them, if you'd like to have it submitted for issue 20, which is the
This upcoming?
issue that next upcoming one for next week. The deadline is usually Thursday, but I can usually extend it depending on how much.
Okay.
But usually the full, I can give her the whole thing in each month.
Okay.
There's a bunch of hours.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Thank you. Any other questions for the ex officio? Seeing none, thank you for your time. Any other ex officios to report to the board at this time?
Hello, Andres Candelano with CSP. So CSP in conjunction with USP is hosting Poesía Peligrosa tomorrow night from 7 to 9 p.m. at the barn. Friday, we will be having a community college day where 500 community college students will be here on campus from 7 to 3. We'll be having workshops, a student panel. We got them all figured out, student panel and all that. But next week it will be CSP Semana de la Mujer. It actually starts on Saturday with a Mujer conference, and that'll be going on from 8:30 to 3:30. Monday we'll be having the Mujer monologues. That's from 5 to 6:30 at Hub 355. Tuesday, a workshop on dating violence from 2 to 3, Hub 355. Tuesday, Plática with Chicano Latino professors here on campus. That'll be happening from 5 to 7 p.m. at Hub 355. Wednesday, a Mujer Nooner from 12 to 1 at the Bell Tower. There will be a poet, Iris de Anda, and a spoken word artist, Felicia Fe Montes. Wednesday, film screening, and Plática with the director and writer of Mosquita y Mary. That'll be from 5 to 7 at Hub 367. Thursday, Mujeres Compartiendo Palabras, open dialogue between mujeres about their experiences from 12 to 1:30, Hub 367. Thursday, Tú defines tu belleza, you define your beauty. So debunking European beauty standards, that'll be from 5 to 6:30 at Hub 367. Friday, March 4th, La Mujer Vencerá project. The pretty much adding on from Thursday's event about demystifying beauty standards. That'll be from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Hub 267.
Thank you. Any questions for the ex officio? Yes, Director.
What day did you say that you're going to have a community college day?
Friday, this Friday.
This Friday, and what time is that at?
It's from 7 to 3.
And where is that going to be?
It's going to be in different rooms at the Hub at different times.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Any other questions for the justice or for the ex officio? Seeing none.
I'll leave this flyer here.
Thank you, appreciate it. Yes. Any other ex officio at this time? Seeing none, moving forward to public forum. Any members of the public wish to address the board at this time?
Hi y'all, many of you know me, my name is Johnson Lewis. Also on the board of the Lebanese Social Club, and we're having a fundraiser tonight. It starts at 7, but the hookah lounge is open till 2 a.m. It's a hookah night, and it's to raise funds for our organization. And I know we probably shouldn't say this, but right now our club kind of sucks, and we've been inactive for we've been inactive for roughly a year and a half. And so right now I'm trying to bring it up and start doing events, and the thing is a lot of major events need funding, so that's why we're hosting the hookah night. So if any of you can come by or just want to message your respective communities and organizations and fraternities or sororities, that'd be great. So yeah.
Thank you. Any questions for the member of the public? Yes, Senator.
I believe we have to, if we do go into the place, we have to bring the flyers. Did you bring any of them with us?
I have some flyers in my bag, so I'll be there roughly at 8 o'clock. But if you go tell the guy that you're with my Lebanese Social Club, the guys that are working there right now are close friends of mine, so he'll know. So, yeah.
Last questions for the member of the public? Seeing none, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Any other members of the public wish to address this board at this time? Moving on to reports from the committee chairperson. Any committee chair people at this wish to present this board at this time? Moving on to Senator reports. Senator Jackson.
So currently right now, I'm just going through the bylaws for the freshman fellows, going through those, making sure they're correct and right, talking to the freshman fellows as well as for all the people in ECAB to make sure that they're okay with the changes I'm looking at to institute. Also looking into finishing up my resolution to basically have a trigger warning announcement for whenever certain controversial groups come on campus, and to see if that's something that we can do through ASUCR, or see if we can get the school's backing on trying to do that, and understanding that sometimes they just pop up, but at least be nice to students who aren't already on campus to know what's going on. And then also looking to start an informal committee with senators and ECABs to look at the constitutional amendments that have been passed as well too.
Thank you. Any questions for the senator? Seeing none. Senator Lopez.
So 2 things. Firstly, I'm going to be working in collaboration with Alan and Chaffee for ASUCR Finance Workshop Mainly it's been designed for freshmen on how to obtain a lease, how does the leasing process work, what the responsibilities of a tenant is, and other ways to budget your money and be physically minded while you're in college. Secondly, I'm working on a ASUCR drunk driving event, which is going to be at the Bell Tower. And as it says in the notes, I'm going to be meeting with the following people within the next week and the week after. And I plan to have this event either the weekend before Spring Splash / Heat. And basically, yeah, I'm working on the events and the work right now.
Thank you. Any questions for the senator? Seeing none, moving on to, yes.
But I have for a personal privilege, I have to leave for midterm. But before, I just want to comment on the upcoming resolution item, if I may.
Your time.
Okay. Basically, as we all remember, the last election was filled with misconceptions and heartache, to say the least. It was a time of drama, and it was, very trivial. Therefore, I want to support the following resolution to foster the integrity of future elections, not only the one coming, but the ones after that, and to ensure that the election season can remain a process that's centered around integrity and morals. And that's enough to say.
Appreciate it. Senator Chan.
Okay, so a couple things. In regards to our closet, I'm working on creating a flyer for the event, and I would like some help from marketing if you would be available for that. I'll talk to you later. And I'm also open to any ideas that anyone has for the flyer. I'm also reaching out to orgs to volunteer for the undie run. Oh, sorry. This is all for the undie run for our closet, rather than that. I'm reaching out to orgs to volunteer to help out the events, to try to engage as much of the campus as possible. And then second, for personnel committee, I sent out emails notifying those who interviewed for the Senator Mentorship Program. And that is all.
Thank you. Any questions for the senator? Seeing none. Senator Twinto.
Okay, really quick. I've been in contact with the physical plant and the fire marshal to figure out the logistics of getting the microwave put into new bikes. And that's all.
Any questions for the senator? Seeing none. Senator David.
So I've been working on the rollover printing project, and I've met with the head of the printing area sort of thing. His name is Israel Tweets, and I brought this proposal to him, and he's gonna bring this proposal to his board, and hopefully the meeting's gonna be in March, and then they're gonna go over the logistics and the business aspect of it, the cost risk analysis, and then vote on it in April, and hopefully have this pilot program for next year, the next academic year. As for lockers, we're fine. Me and my interns are looking for more lockers on campus. We're waiting on a reply from Vice Chancellor Sandoval and Vice Chancellor Coley. And then along with that, I'm working on the undie run, going over themes and little ideas like that. For the kindness campaign with Nick Carrillo, we're working on reaching out to ASPB for cooperation so that we can have space during a Wednesday at noon, because ASPB has nooners for all of quarter. And lastly, the Senate Intern Mentorship. I have a really great group of students that have been contributing great ideas to my projects, as well as having, we have weekly educational aspects on professionalism and self-development. So.
Thank you. Any questions for the senator? Seeing none. Next, Senator.
Okay, so for our closet, we met this morning at 10 a.m. to discuss our plan for the undie run, and Melissa will go over that more in detail. With the Student Housing Advisory Committee, as I may have mentioned last meeting, we received an email from Andy Bloom, and we'll be meeting on February 29th to look at the budgets. That's one of 2 dates that are possible, but I will be going to the 29th meeting, and I'm not sure about the other senators on board. I have no updates from the ASCC sexual assault and sexual harassment or Sexual Violence Prevention Committee or the Student Health Advisory Committee. For capital planning, I finally have a meeting time and place. So the meeting will take place on Wednesday, March 2nd from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. I will send out a reminder email to Senate and ECAB just in case you'd like to join me. Again, it's a pretty preliminary meeting, so we shouldn't go too in depth, and I hope to have some follow-up meetings afterwards to go over more details. With the Campus Beautification Initiative, Michael and I are working on a presentation to the Hub Board of Governors, and hopefully our presentation will get approved to speak at their meeting on the 8th of March. And then lastly, I have a meeting scheduled with Ashley, Julia, and Ron Coley on March 3rd to see if we can fix up, or see what we can do to fix up the classrooms. A survey was sent out a little while ago, so we'll be looking at those updates and then seeing what we can do about that.
Thank you. Any questions for the senator? Yes.
So for the classroom improvement, do we send stuff to you or should we send out to one of my classrooms that the desk is completely broken?
You can send it to me.
Okay.
Any questions for the senator? Seeing none, Senator Zuna.
So for the Orange and Black event that Julia came up with, my interns and I have a thinking of ideas that we want to have in there. So we were thinking so far about dunk tanks, booths, possible orange tasting here on campus, and so we still have to look into funding for that. And secondly, one of the ideas that we're working on right now, we're currently making designs for, I don't know if all of you noticed, but the new hub design on Snapchat. But one of my interns decided to make that, so he made it possible afterwards. And so what we're planning on doing is during elections, we're trying to see if we can get a filter that says "Don't forget to vote." It's not aimed towards a specific party. It's not going to say the party name or anything, so it's not going to be biased towards anything. It's just going to basically remind students to vote on campus.
Thank you. Any questions for the senator? Seeing none, Senator Wells.
So I met with Jeff Krauser last week about the University Avenue improvement project I mentioned before. So I contacted Ron Coley, who oversees physical plant, to talk about getting the mural under University Avenue underneath the freeway repainted. So I'm still waiting a response from him because there are senators previously that wanted to work on it, and there are some issues with funding and about who technically owns it. So I'm still awaiting a response from him on that, as well as Margie Haupt, who's the cultural and arts director for the city of Riverside, because the city was also involved in that, as well as getting banners put up, just sort of highlighting the accomplishments of current UCR faculty, staff, students, undergrad and graduate, as well as alumni. So just to sort of, I'm working out how much it would cost to get banners put up, and then content-wise, that's still being worked out. So once they get back to me on that, I will let you all know. I met with TAPS along with President Hirano asking about parking for dining service workers. So a dining worker had brought up that there was a concern for some of them that they had to either park on the street or they had to constantly pay for parking passes. So she recommended, just depending on how much they're working, either buying a night pass or a gold pass, because that was a student-specific issue, was especially for female workers or when it's late at night, having to park on the street far away. If they could get parking closer, so she said it would probably be more economical to either buy a gold pass or a night permit. So I'm going to talk to that student again and let him know what he said and see what his specific issues were, and I'll take that back to TAPS, depending on whether or not that answer satisfies his concern. I sent the abstract for the Beyond Our Margins conference, which was previously Embracing Our Culture that Senator Boson has been working on, to the chair of the anthropology department as well as to the dean. So I haven't gotten a response from either of them yet, so I'll probably be going into the dean's office this week to bring it up. And with that, I still have not gotten a response from Dean Pena about our meeting with her, so if I don't get a response by tonight, which more than likely I won't, I'm going to contact her assistant, because I emailed her directly, so I'll contact her assistant tomorrow, or tonight, to see about getting a time set up before the quarter ends. I'm thinking of developing an online guide, or it'd be like sort of an online book, I guess, that could be updated with just some of the various services that are maybe not as well represented for students that they don't know about, as well as just interesting places, so like the herb garden, and there's a lot of little places like that maybe students don't know about. So I wanted to do like an online thing through ASUCR, just highlighting some of those spots that students might not know about, as well as some of the extra services for printing and other things. And I may collaborate with our first year fellows with this. They're working on a video project for their fellow project. So I spoke with one of the internal fellows, Carisha, about incorporating that into theirs. So along with the guide, they also might incorporate that into their project. So I will keep you updated as that gets developed. And then just a reminder, if we don't meet week 10, next week will be the last LRC meeting, so the bylaws were changed. So senators that don't have legislation in by Monday, if we don't meet week 10, will have their first week stipend withheld. So yeah, get your legend. Or don't, but I mean, if you don't care about your stipend, I'm not worried about it. And close your
Senator Shaw.
Perfect, thank you. So first of all, for the Senate internships, currently the senators that are under my wing, we are working on a few goals pertaining to the Senate in general, of a way to have a more proactive tabling conversation with the student body. So what we came up with is that we are going to actually start reaching out to different senators to propose different ideas to see if you all are interested or up for it for the spring quarter, such as tabling on Wednesdays, which should be a much more proactive tabling. I know there's a lot of difficulty with our marketing director trying to get us, as we all have classes, busy schedules, but a way for us is to table outside to make our faces known, because during the leadership awareness that our first year fellow Julia sent out, there were 44% of students who've actually been to the ASUCR office, and when I asked her about the sample size, she says there were 60 students who actually were able to participate in that survey. So that's a huge problem. So they were thinking about having senators go out during one of their office hours, as we all have 4 office hours, and talking to students, proposing questions, coming up with a website where we can post videos, different, just a way for senators to interact with the student body in a much more comfortable way, instead of them having to come to our ASUCR office during office hours, which creates a lot of, I guess, a lot of people are intimidated by it, but I mean, that's how they feel. Second thing that we are also working on is a college survey. So I've asked Jim Sandoval to contact the undergraduate admission office to propose an idea of having a college-specific survey for the different colleges that we are a part of in our IEVALs, along with our IEVALs, so they can sort of just ask simple questions doing with the process of signing up for classes, your professors, etc. So not only will the administration be able to get a better idea of what the student concerns are, but also ASUCR, so we can actually tackle different concerns that students have specifically that they mention within it. But other than that, I have nothing further to report.
Thank you. Any questions for the senator? Seeing none. Senator Vargas.
So I'll be reporting on the art closet committee. We met today at 10 in the morning, and last week I worked on assignments for everybody because I want everybody to be involved in the committee. So I put Verna in charge of outreach, as she said she'll be contacting people and different organizations to let them know about the Undie Run. Senator Christina and one of our members, Cindy, are in charge of themes. And one of the themes we want to really focus on is body empowerment, and also raising awareness on student homelessness and also homelessness in general. And then I put second years, Erin, Melanie, and Juliana on mapping routes, so running routes to see different ones. So I had each of them make at least 2 different maps to see which one's good and which one will work better for us. And I will be sending out an email to UCPD, as well as emailing the whole campus and emailing the campus, and also asking senators to help us out, so we could really use your help. I'll let you all know more information on that when it gets closer to that. And I put Senator Catherine Tatley in charge of emailing housing to see if we can possibly have a route, not that goes inside of housing, but kind of something that goes outside of AI, because a lot of people did like reside in the residence halls, and I think it'd be pretty cool to like go back there and just kind of see what's going on. We have a date set for the Undie Run, so it's on May 11th. It's going to start at 7:30 p.m., so mark your calendars. And that's about it. Just next week, we're going to be voting on a theme, on a route, and we're also going to be making a budget. So if y'all want to stop by, it's going to be here in ASUCR at 10 in the morning. We can always use your input. And that's it. Thank you.
Any questions for the senator? Seeing none. Senator Thielhart.
All right, so I've tentatively made plans with John Tanews about a workers' appreciation dinner. Currently, the plan is to use my Senate project budget, but hopefully we'll be able to expand that with more collaboration with it. Second thing is I'm drafting a resolution based off the results of the finals week survey. I can hope to talk to the dean about that first, but she's not responding to us for our request for meetings. And then I continue to serve as an ex officio to RHA, and I've been informing them on the stuff ASUCR has done that pertains to them. So I've talked about the nutritional labeling for the dining halls. And what I'd like to do is, I'll talk to Melina after this meeting, but inform RHA about the elections bylaw, because I feel one of the best ways to enforce the elections code is not that the candidates are aware of it, but the people are aware of it. That way they can be the ones that report people doing bad stuff, violating the elections code. And that's it.
Thank you. Any questions for the senator?
Would you mind emailing her too? That way it's coming from like multiple places. The DM.
Yeah. Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, Senator Correa.
Alright. So in regards to the UCR research portal, I am waiting for a meeting with our dean in order to go over a couple of different things and take her input on the different changes that I'd like to make, and then see about how to go about actually making the changes. The presentation for the hub, the dryers in the hub restroom is almost complete. I plan to be meeting with a red team in order to go over the presentation prior to meeting with GCAP in order to get feedback on how to improve on it and just general stuff that they would want to look for in the presentation. In regards to committees, as Senator Tapley said earlier, the Student Housing Advisory Committee will be meeting on the 29th, particularly with RHA Cabinet in order to go over the budget at 9 p.m. in the Foxhole, and this is coming Monday. Bylaws for the Mental Health Committee hopefully to be made into the Health and Wellness Committee, should be into LRC by Monday, this coming one. And one of the big changes that is happening in that bylaw is we're moving it from under the Office of Internal Affairs to a Senate-led committee in order to bring more Senate collaboration towards those efforts. And that wraps up my report.
Thank you. Any questions for the senator? Yes.
So for the hand dryers you mentioned, were you looking to get funding from GCAP, or is it going to be something that you want to fund it through the university?
A little bit of both. Michael was suggesting to go to the Hub Governing Board, see if we can get money from them, as well as it is a thing that would be inside the hub. But also GCAP, as well, as I believe that hand dryers are a form of sustainability and cutting down use of water and use of paper material.
Thank you. Any last questions for the senator? Seeing none. Senator Picard.
So in regards to my nutritional labeling resolution, one of the Senate interns was able to get me a meeting with the dining managers for both Lodian and AI. So I will be meeting with them next week. I sent them the resolution to see what they had to do in order to meet those requirements from the FDA. And also today I met with the Director of Marketing for Athletics, Alyssa Creo. And what we discussed about was how to increase athletic awareness on campus. So she gave me around 100 posters to put up in classrooms, and I have to contact the SRC and the hub in order, like, where I can put those posters as well in the gym and inside the hub. Also, we talked about how to increase students' participation. So what we came up with was to have student orgs make a student section for student orgs to basically increase our attendance rate, since we are at the bottom 8% of all Division I schools in terms of attendance for basketball, which is really bad. We also talked about how ASUCR can back up athletics, and what I discussed with her was to have all social media accounts associated with UCR to post game day visuals of like basketball, softball, baseball, all the sports. And also we talked about how last week they spent thousands of dollars on a tailgate and only 20 students were able to attend. So we talked a lot about some of the issues that athletics has with participation and student attendance. And I basically told her like all my resolutions and stuff like that, which I will go more into specifics next week when I write my resolution for increased athletic awareness. Also, my Senate interns are setting up a meeting with Campus Escort on how to bring in more volunteers for the Campus Escort on campus, like at night. What we came up with is either to have more volunteers or to create a stipend, or to even get a new car, since their car is down right now. Also, another of my interns are contacting Bleacher Report and ESPN in order to become a writer for athletics, since we lack that in the website Bleacher Report. Also, one of my other interns is setting up a meeting with TAPS to discuss the broken bike pumps and how to market them better, since a lot of the campus does ride bikes, and we do have a few broken bike pumps, so if anyone wants to help with that, that would be great. And we are also working on hydration stations for all the residence halls, like in AI and Pentland. Because I know West Low has hydration stations, but not every other door. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions for the Senator? Yes.
The Rec Center Governing Board, as far as the bike stations, they're investing in solar-powered bike pumps. And so I'm not sure if TAPS has considered that as well, but I'm sure they might be in communication, so if that meeting comes up, it might be something to throw in.
Okay, yeah, I'll definitely, if you could email like all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be great. Thank you.
Any last questions for Senator? Yes.
Yeah, Helen, did you say that, how many res halls are missing hydration stations?
Well, what they wanted to do is to have hydration stations in every hall, just like Westwood has. But they don't. So my interns are working with RHA to see what is possible. Because I know like a few years ago, the UCR, the senior class gift was towards hydration stations on campus, but there has not been any like updates in regards to like, how much money was raised, and also if any hydration stations have been implemented since then. So what we want to do is maybe use that senior gift money in order to have them in residence halls as well.
Okay, 2 of them have been installed, one at Life Sciences and one over at Homestead. And I'm working on getting the flags put up, but it was quoted a lot higher than what the billing came in, so I do have extra money, so if you want to come see me, we can talk about that.
Okay, good. Thank you. Oh yeah, one more thing. Also, the SRC will now be streaming basketball games during the game times after I talked to the director of the SRC in order to bring out more.
30 seconds remaining.
Thank you.
Senator, any last questions? Seeing none. I believe that is all the Senator. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, which is new business. The new business going directly to committee reports. Finance Committee. And sometimes in Josh. I will read the Finance Committee report. Opening balance $30,828. The other side B-Boys allocated $825. The Pakistani Student Association was allocated $1,098. And that was it. Total org allocations $1,923. Closing balance for the contingency fund $28,905. The opening balance for the ASUCR funds were $4,180.50, my mistake. There were no allocations at that meeting, and that is in with the same closing balance. Any motions or questions on this report?
Move to approve the finance report.
There's a motion to approve the finance report. Is there a second? Seconded by Wen Yun Chao. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstain? Any votes unanimous? Moving on to the LRC committee reports. The Senate shall discuss and take action on the resolution in support of upholding due process, justice, and separation of powers in the ASUCR. I believe this is the resolution that the Senator Lopez was speaking upon earlier. President Pro Tempore, you have the floor.
Okay, so actually before that, there's also a recommendation from the LRC to strike Chapter 41 from the bylaws due to redundancy. So Chapter 40 is the ASCC, is the Associated Students Chancellors Committee on Sexual Harassment and Sexual Violence Prevention, and that's Chapter 40. Chapter 41 is the Student Violence and Sexual.
Real quick. The item right now we're on is the resolution, not the.
Oh, more than, but saying that wasn't on the report, so I was just gonna have the motion first.
Oh, okay.
I concluded the only thing. Yeah, I sent it to you, just the recommendation I'll see to strike. Chapter 41.
Chapter 41
the bylaws, just to strike it. There wasn't any changes to it. Just to I sent that. I included that in the thing underneath the 2 pieces of those.
So there's a.
You mean these 2?
So there's a motion or an item you want to throw up to strike the entire bylaw?
Yes.
Okay, but it didn't go on the agenda?
I sent it out with the thing, so it should have been in there, but if not, I mean, we can wait till next week, it's just striking it. So.
Yeah, you might wait till next week. I'm just reluctant to strike an entire item.
No, Mr. Kennedy. Okay, so yeah, we'll wait till next week for that. But yeah, basically just strike chapter 41 due to redundancy because A, the committee's never met, and B, it would have the same duties as chapter 40. So I had Senator somehow look at both of them, and yeah, her recommendation was just to strike 41. So that was LRC's recommendation, but we'll go down next week. Yeah, okay. All right, so moving to the actual resolution. So this is dealing with a lot of what had happened last year, and there was actually a judicial council decision this year that basically overturned a lot of decisions that were made last year, as well as declaring a lot of the actions of the previous year's Senate and other officials as being unconstitutional. So this is just a resolution sort of further elucidating on that, as well as reaffirming our commitments to, well, exactly what it says, due process, justice, and separation of powers. So I'm just going to jump right in. Whereas the student body's faith in the efficacy of its student government and elected representatives is paramount to the success of the associated students of UC Riverside. On the night of April 29, 2015, the 2014-15 ASUCR Senate voted through changes to the Elections Code without approval from the Legislative Review Committee in the middle of election voting week. On the same night, led by the, I'm just going to say previous year, because I won't say 2014. Led by the previous year Vice President of External Affairs, the ASUCR Senate voted to expel 2 ASUCR justices, including the Chief Justice, thereby preventing quorum within the judicial branch. On April 30th, 2015, the previous election committee took on the powers of adjudicating elections cases in the absence of the judicial branch. On April 30th, 2015, the previous Executive Vice President issued a statement as the chair of the Senate, deeming that the expulsion of the 2 justices to be null and void pursuant to the ASUCR Constitution and ASUCR Judicial Rules of Procedure, which was disputed by the previous year Vice President of External Affairs and Elections Director. Subsequently, on April 30th, 2015, the previous ASUCR President, due to, quote, competing interpretations and confusion in regards to the ASUCR Constitution, bylaws, and judicial rules of procedure, and questions over the fairness of the actions taken by the ASUCR Senate and members of the executive branch, end quote, issued a constitutionally authorized executive order to temporarily suspend the expulsions of the 2 justices in order for the judicial branch to, quote, meet quorum and evaluate the constitutionality of the actions, quote, in question, end quote. A meeting was called by the previous year President Pro Tempore with less than 3.5 hours notice. On the morning of May 1st, 2015, the ASUCR Judicial Council ruled the expulsion of the 2 justices, and the Senate meeting announced for May 1st without a 48-hour public notice to be unconstitutional. Subsequently, on May 1st, 2015, during the unofficial meeting held between select members of the ASUCR, the previous Vice President of External Affairs led the motion to override the April 30th executive order and declared the intent to censure the 2014-15 President and Executive Vice President. Per Chapter 9 of the ASUCR bylaws, executive orders may only be terminated, brought to an end, without any retroactive authority on prior action and decisions already made under it. On May 4, 2015, the ASUCR an ASUCR agreement, was brokered to allow the 3 remaining justices to adjudicate on the remaining election cases. On May 6, 2015, subsequent to the adjournment of the official ASUCR Senate meeting number 21, during closed session of meeting Q between select officers of the ASUCR, which the previous ASUCR parliamentarian ruled to be unconstitutional and did not attend, select members of Senate voted to censure the previous year President, Executive Vice President, and installed acting officers. On May 8, 2015, the remaining justices issued verdicts on all the remaining election cases. On May 13, 2015, the previous ASUCR Senate voted to, quote, to remove the parliamentarian and, quote, by legislative fiat to rewrite the Elections Code, the Judicial Rules of Procedure, and the ASUCR Constitution under the argument that it deemed the prior final judicial determinations to be unconstitutional. There have been questions raised over political motivation behind such matters, and other similarly deliberate obstructionist efforts were carried out by individual members of the previous Senate. On May 14, 2015, UCR Campus Council issued a directive from the Chancellor in order to ensure the integrity of ASUCR's system of checks and balances to suspend the Senate's May 13 vote, noting that in combination to the removals and censures staged that month, ASUCR Senate actions were ground for ulcer bias. On May 17, 2015, an independent parliamentary review of the removal of the 2 justices on April 29, 2015 was conducted, ruling that both justices, quote, were improperly and legally moved from office by the Senate. The ultimate conclusion that this opinion thus reaches is that the process the Senate used for removal of both justices failed to comply with the requirements of Article 6 removal provision, and both justices must be restored to their offices immediately to correct this injustice, end quote. A further independent parliamentary review ruled that all held actions taken during meeting Q between select officers of the previous ASUCR, including the censure of the previous president and executive vice president, and installations of acting officers to be unconstitutional. The new 2015-16 judicial branch has ruled and vacated all decisions and actions carried out during meeting Q by select previous year officers of the ASUCR, including the censure of the previous president and executive vice president, and installations of acting officers as unconstitutional and void. While reports surrounding the events of the spring 2015 election have attempted to cover both sides of the story, such coverage contained misrepresentations of facts, unobjective assertions, and misinformation, including reports that 1. The removal of the justices as a matter of fact rather than a disputed attempt. The relevant executive order was overturned when in fact they may only be terminated without any retroactive overrides. The misleading implication that the executive order was only sent to select members when in fact it was first issued to the effective branch which required it to function. The censures of the previous president and executive vice president as a matter of fact when in fact disputed attempts. Judgments of constitutionality by the previous Senate as fact when in fact such authority is only granted to the ASUCR judicial branch, and judgments by the ASUCR Judicial Council as claims when they are in fact final rulings. Many actions taken by select members of the previous ASUCR Senate and select members of the previous Executive Cabinet during the spring 2015 elections were antithetical to the separation of powers and can be perceived as damaging to the public trust and reputation of the ASUCR as a whole. Therefore, let it be resolved, the Associated Students of UC Riverside endorse fair and objective reporting on all matters related to the ASUCR and request corrective measures on misrepresented facts to keep the student body informed, respecting the values of freedom of press while upholding the need for the unbiased dissemination of objective facts. The Associated Students of UC Riverside recognizes the need to update the censure bylaws, which were originally designed for a parliamentary system, in such a manner that prevents politically motivated censures and safeguards the separation of power among the three separate equal branches of ASUCR. The Associated Students of UC Riverside recognize that the aforementioned previous year ASUCR justices, president, executive vice president, parliamentarian, and their respective staff have duly served the student body in their respective positions and shall be duly conferred with all the rights, benefits, and privileges afforded to all those who have served in those respective positions. Let it be finally resolved, the Associated Students of UC Riverside reaffirm its commitment to upholding due process, justice, and separation of powers as prescribed in ASUCR Constitution, bylaws, and judicial rules of procedure.
Thank you. Senator Willis, would you like to make the motion?
Yes, I move to approve, I just will pass it, the resolution upholding, in support of upholding due process, justice, and separation of powers in the ASUCR.
Is there a second? Second by Senator Theolard. Let's move on to discussion. Is there any discussion on or debate on this item? Yes.
Well, speaking as someone that ran last year, you know, it took a toll on a lot of people, like in terms of school, work, family, mental health, and stuff like that. So I feel like if you were definitely directly involved with this, you should participate in this vote or whatever. But another thing is, like, can I motion to have a standing vote?
You want a standing vote?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, cool.
There's a motion to have a standing vote as within your privileges. Is there a second or any objections to this? Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Senator Willis. Is there any objections to having a standing vote?
No clarification, does
Yes.
that mean standing up?
It
Yes.
really means
Oh, okay, I was like, what's
I
standing?
know it's hard to figure it out, but
I bet.
that's good thing no parliamentarian. Seeing no objection to having a standing vote, we will make a standing vote. We will move back to debate. Any debate or discussion on this item? Seeing none. In the matter of the resolution in support of withholding due process, justice, and separation of powers in the ASUCR. All in favor, please stand. Thank you. Any opposed, please stand. Any abstain? Seeing none. Seeing none, the vote passes unanimously, 12-0-0.
Okay, next So as was mentioned in the resolution, there would be a reworking of the censure bylaws, which is here. So this is up on this thing. So this is chapter 23 of the bylaws, the active censure. So some of the, in section 1 purpose, if any appointed or elected member of the Associated Students of the University of California, Riverside, who serves in an official leadership capacity, culpably fails to carry out their duties, or has committed an ethical breach of their respective office, as determined by the Senate, the Judicial Council, the Executive Cabinet, the ASUCR Constitution, or the ASUCR bylaws, then the motion to invoke the active censure shall be in order. So there's a lot of new things here. So section 2, applicability. The active censure may be imposed on any elected member or appointed member that requires Senate confirmation of all 3 branches, hereafter referred to as member. Process. Any member of the ASUCR may submit a request for the active censure. A request for the active censure regarding a member of the executive branch or legislative branch must be first submitted to the Judicial Council. A hearing shall be led by the Judicial Council as outlined in the Judicial Rules of Procedure. A majority vote by the Judicial Council in favor of the active censure shall immediately bring the case to the next scheduled Senate meeting and Executive Cabinet meeting. The active censure shall be imposed by a majority vote in favor of censure by either the Senate or the Executive Cabinet. A request for the active censure regarding a member of the judicial branch must first be submitted to the Executive Cabinet. A majority vote by the Executive Cabinet in favor of the active censure shall immediately bring the case to the next scheduled Senate meeting and Judicial Council session. The active censure shall be imposed by a majority vote in favor of censure by either the Senate or Judicial Council. Duration. The request for an active censure must include a time limit for the member of whom the active censure is imposed, to be determined by the party bringing the charges forth, provided it does not exceed 6 weeks. The branch which first hears the request for the active censure shall have the authority to alter the time limit, provided it does not exceed the maximum cap of 6 weeks. This clause shall not apply to cases of academic standards, the process of which is outlined in Chapter 24 of the bylaws herein. Restrictions on the member. A member of the ASUCR under the active censure shall be forbidden by this article from exercising any voting rights and shall not receive their ASUCR stipend, if applicable, for the duration of the active censure. Subsequent censure, Section 6. If a member of the ASUCR receives the active censure twice during their term of office, then the process for removal shall be in order as outlined in the Constitution.
Thank you. Senator Willis, would like to make a motion.
All right, I move to approve the changes to Chapter 23 of the bylaws.
There's a motion to approve the changes to Chapter 23 of the bylaws. There's a second.
Second.
Seconded by Senator Pereira. Is there any discussion or debate on this item?
I have a quick question.
Yes.
In section 3, why is it majority instead of 2/3?
So I think it was, or which part specifically you're referring to? I'm looking at Section 3.
Section 3.
Letter B, or B, sorry, I was gonna say number B.
Oh yeah, so,
Section B, not that.
okay, yeah, I see. Okay, so I think the rationale for that was that since it's going to have to also be taken to Senate or Executive Cabinet, it would require at least 2 branches of approval anyway. So that is just the initial vote to have the appeal or the request for censure be imposed, and then at that point it would still need to go through a vote of either of the, either the Senate or the Executive branch.
Got it.
So yeah, majority, just because since it has to go through 2 anyway, we sort of figured that 2 out of 3 branches would be just as like a vote of 1.
Right. Clarification.
Yes.
For section 3, part A, subsection B, why would it go either to Senate or Judicial Council if it's regarding a member of the judicial branch?
Senator Willis?
Can you repeat what section it's under?
It's under section 3, part B, subsection B.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Hold on.
Because if it's regarding a member of a specific branch, so like let's say, I'm just looking at judicial. I think part A reflects this as well. But if you're looking at judicial here, if the request for the active censure is regarding a member of the judicial branch, why would it go back to?
For this Vice President.
Yes.
Right. So that was written essentially to make sure that the power of censure isn't just concentrated within any specific 1 or even 2 branches. It requires the input and possibly the approval or the endorsement of multiple branches. So while the active censure can take place on any branch, and it wouldn't need all 3 branches to agree. So say the active censure on a member of the judicial branch. It would just have to first go to the executive cabinet just to decide if there's merit. And then Senate is, I suppose, the final arbiter of like deciding whether or not to impose the act or censure. If say Senate doesn't, but judicial does decide, then it would still be a censure, if that makes sense. Because you'd have 2 out of the 3 branches agreeing on it. And that's what it would be for any case regardless of the branch. You just need 2 out of the 3 branches, regardless of which branch it applies to or brings it forth.
So, just to explain that, judicial would also, I mean, any branch would likely know the work of their members best, so if executive cabinet decides that there is warrant to this case, and if judicial were to vote on it, they would probably be pretty in-tuned and keyed in into what exactly they're doing, or if there's a legitimacy to this, they would probably bring it up to the executive cabinet to maybe bring forth the case. So it goes back to that branch only because, like you said, even if, let's say, the entire judicial branch 1 year is very biased and they vote, no, we're not going to censure this person, it would still go to the Senate at that point, and if the Senate believes that they're in breach of their duties or anything of that matter, then the vote for censure would still go through.
Thank you. Any last questions for the senator? Seeing none, I believe there's been a motion. There's been rigorous debate. Move this to a vote. All in favor of adopting the bylaw amendments? Any opposed? Any abstentions? I don't know now.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. We'll assume that was unanimous, and that note the bylaw amendment passes. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, public comment. Any member of the public wish to address this board at this time? Seeing none, we move straight to roundtable and announcements. We will start with Vice President.
February 29th, Diversity Council is having a town hall. I don't know if John Tanous is here to kind of talk about location. There'll be a campus-wide email kind of sent out talking about what that'll be all about, but I encourage everyone to attend. A lot of great stuff that we talked about. 302. Oh, 302.
Thank you. Director?
I'm still holding candidates meetings. They are Monday and Tuesday, 12 to 1 o'clock, and Thursdays, 3 to 4.
Hi everyone. So my committee is putting on our first event. It's going to be next Tuesday at the Bell Tower lawn from 11 to 2, and it's called Transparent Official Student Appreciation Day. So if you guys could like stop by for a little bit, that'd be awesome.
This Saturday, the women's basketball team will be playing Hawaii, and the Hawaii team is second in the Big West, and the women's is first. They are 12-0 currently. So this is a really big game for them because if they win this, they clinch the Big West, and which will mean a pretty high seed in the March Madness tournament the next 2 weeks, I believe. So yeah, I say we should go support our women's basketball team because they're first place right now.
Pass. Pass.
Pass.
Pass. Pass.
Pass. Pass. Pass.
Pass.
Pass. Pass.
Anyone else, the official, wish to have any roundtable announcements?
Pass.
Seeing none. Next item on the agenda, can I hear a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn the meeting.
Is there a second?
I second. Oh wait, okay, I didn't know we heard her.
Made by Senator Win-Yu Chow, seconded by Senator Jackson. Any objections? Seeing none. Have a good night, everybody.